GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show where we're all about long-term investing, unless our coin hasn't moved by lunch. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton. It's Friday, June the 13th. Today's episode was recorded on June 6th because currently I am on vacation. But oh baby, am I excited for you guys to hear this one. Today, we've got the Milk Road team in the studio to give their updated crypto market predictions for the rest of 2025. So back on December 30th, you guys might remember, we released our predictions for the year. And because predictions are worthless unless you actually go back and review them and have the balls and the ethics to talk about them again. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to see how have we done so far this year, and are we going to make any updates to our predictions for the rest of this year. We're obviously going to talk about price predictions for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, few other assets, I'm sure, as well, cycle timelines, cycle top, and so much more. Before we jump in, guys, the Milk Road team has been absolutely cooking, and I'm so excited to tell you about the launch of the Milk Road Degen newsletter, which was just released this week. This is LG, our new in-house Degen expert that is going to guide you through the trenches, the crypto casino, on a weekly basis to help you find that next 100x. So if you're on X, you can follow the Milk Road Degen account, and LG, you can hit the link in the show notes to see those X accounts, or you could also subscribe to the newsletter to make sure you get the download twice a week direct to your inbox. It's funny and full of alpha. Check it out. With that, allow me to welcome the Milk Road Dream Team. What is up, boys?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Yo.
Great to have y'all. It's so I don't get to have the whole squad. We're missing Martin right now, but we got Kyle, we got Tigao, we got Chevy. Let's just go around quickly, and Tigao, Chevy, you guys aren't on the show as much, so I want to make sure you guys get a chance to just introduce yourself. Tell us quickly what your role is here at Milk Road, so everybody knows. And then maybe while we're going around as well, let's highlight any predictions you have gotten right or any predictions you've gotten wildly wrong so far this year. Chevy, you start us off.
All right. I am the lead writer at Milk Road Daily Newsletter. And man, if you want missed prediction, I've got maybe 4 of them out of my 5. So there was agential AI replaces the meme coin narrative. I think that was technically correct for like the first 14 days of January. Everyone was talking about it. Meme coins are out.
Trump the year's not over. The year's not over, Chevy.
I could come back. Yeah. Market tops in either March or April or November, December. So half wrong. I'm pretty sure it's going to be 100% wrong. Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll dive into why you think that'll be 100% wrong later. I'm curious what your updated prediction will be. Any other ones to share before we go to Tigao?
Just price ones, but I'm going to save those.
We'll get those. Okay. Tigao. Tyler. It feels so weird to call you Tyler.
Yeah, only my mom calls me that, but I'm Tigao. I am the GM at Milk Road, just basically trying to make sure that this engine doesn't fall apart and keeps running. So that's kind of what I do. So
he does nothing. He just sits there and drinks. Well, I was gonna say drinks coffee, but he actually doesn't even drink coffee. So he literally does nothing.
No, man, all natural.
Just beats you at golf. That's all he does.
Yeah.
There we go.
You know what? While you were doing your intro, Jay, Tigao, you got to get yourself a Whoop, because while you're doing your intro, I got a new Whoop and it tells me my Whoop age. So like, how am I aging versus my chronological age? And I just looked, so I had to say this, but I'm 3.5 years younger than my actual age. Tigao, I want you to get a Whoop because I want to compare and see who's younger or older.
Always a competition.
What about maturity wise? About 15 years younger?
All right, tell us about your failed predictions. Come on.
They're all failed. They're all the only one that still I feel like has a good chance is BTC 150K by end of year. Yeah, I feel like that's possible. But the rest, I had like meme coins on Bitcoin to be the next big narrative, which I saw one article, I feel like in the end of January that like made me think that it was going to happen, but nothing popped there. I had 3 crypto Super Bowl ads, which I think there was one maybe or something like that.
Was there one?
I don't think there was 3.
Yeah, I think there was one.
And then Trump putting laser eyes in his Twitter. PFP.
I mean, hey, years.
I
not
mean, he
over yet.
didn't do that, but like he's come pretty
dang
close.
Yeah, he's tweeted about it at least.
Yeah. Trump family bought what, 3 billion? Like, I think you're directionally close on that one for sure. Okay, Kyle, you can introduce yourself, even though I'm sure our listeners know you well.
Yeah, co-owner, head of research of Milk Road. In terms of my predictions, they're actually all still in play. There's one though that depends how we read it. I have a brackets beside it. So I said there won't be a Bitcoin strategic reserve in the US in 2025. So that was wrong. However, I said in brackets, they probably will, or they might announce that they just won't sell the confiscated Bitcoin. But I don't think they will actually create a strategic reserve and put it on the Fed balance sheet. So technically that is correct. But the title of what I called that prediction was wrong, which saying there's no strategic Bitcoin reserve, because obviously we had that. I don't know where we put that one, but the rest are all still in play. So I'm feeling pretty good about my predictions.
Okay, we'll come around to the rest. For myself, the one that has, I mean, they're still in play, mine, but the one that I'm directionally right on is I said that three more countries would be buying Bitcoin this year. And so far, we actually don't have any more that have bought, but Pakistan just announced at Bitcoin Vegas last week. And I am fairly confident that we're going to have still two more by the end of this year. So I think I'll
What
be
does that
right
mean
on
by
one.
countries though? Because technically Saudi Arabia has bought Bitcoin.
Yeah, not the
ETFs.
sovereign wealth funds. I was really thinking
Central
the central banks here. Yeah, I was
Okay,
I was trying to be specific to central banks because if you include sovereign wealth funds, then you get like Abu Dhabi and you get some more in there as well.
You could get that. You might get that by the end of the year. Still, there's still.
I think
6
so.
months left, so.
I think so. I think Taiwan, Brazil, Czech Republic, Thailand. Those are four that are all talking about it. Lots of speculation. So now, obviously, Pakistan announced it. Technically, they haven't actually like fully formalized it yet, but feel pretty good on that. The ones that I'm like similar to, I also was calling the AI agent narrative would be the biggest narrative 2025. So far, no, other than those first 2 weeks, Chevy, you and me are definitely wrong on that one. And my annual prediction that I am always wrong on, even though I keep sticking to it, is gaming. I'm the one who just like really believes my prediction. I broadened it a little bit. I said a mainstream crypto app will reach 10 million monthly active users this year.
Well, what's that one on Avalanche? Off the grid.
Yeah,
That's been a success. I don't know what the numbers are, but it's been a success.
Yeah, it's been not those numbers, and also the launch of their Guns token did not go very well, so it actually is not going the greatest. But it will happen.
Eventually, you'll be right.
It will happen.
You'll be right,
so like,
Jay.
I just can't. I'll be right when I don't make that prediction. So
Off the grid surpasses 14 million unique users. So
monthly active MAU.
That I don't know. It just
that's probably all time. I bet.
Yeah. I got unique users here. I'm not sure that's monthly active.
Okay, well,
I'm trying to figure that out.
I'm not completely off. All right, well, let's get into the goods. Let's get into the stuff that everybody wants to hear. Nobody wants to hear the failed predictions. Everyone wants to hear the price predictions for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, and we might talk about a few others. Let's talk about Bitcoin. When we go around, give us what your prediction was for Bitcoin at the start of the year, and then tell us if you're going to keep it or if you're going to update it. Who wants to go first? Okay.
Yeah, I can start. So my base case for Bitcoin was 175. Still feel really good about that. And then I said with potential for 250K if the Bitcoin strategic reserve happens, which that has happened. So I also, now to be clear, this was by the end of the year, but I think we sort of mixed end of year, end of cycle, because we assumed back when we recorded this, probably end of cycle is around end of year. I now don't believe the end of this cycle is end of year. I think it's actually going to go into 2026. So these numbers I'm going to continue to say is by the end of the cycle, which again, I don't really think we have these 4-year cycle kind of things anymore, but by the end of this bull market, we'll call that, which I think is going to go into 2026.
Okay.
And I still feel really good about those numbers. So
Chevy, what do you got?
I have the same feelings. I'm still confident in my price predictions, just not for this year. Like, I think Bitcoin at 180K, I wouldn't be like, it could happen. I'm not saying it's like definitely not, but I had way more confidence in December. I'm calling this for 2025.
Hey, we're more than half the way there. What are we, 105 as we record this or something, 104? Like, it can happen. I think
we started the year pretty much where we are now. So
Yeah, that's okay. That means that it's coiling up, ready for a big run.
Tigal, what you got on Bitcoin?
I had 150K by the end of the year or end of cycle. I don't really remember exactly what we were saying, but I don't know. I still feel pretty confident. I kind of adjusted it in my notes here to like very confident about like 130 by the end of the year. But I don't know. I've got a bit more of a bearish take. I feel like Q1 really hurt my optimism towards prices, and I'll just be kind of happy with,
Oh
I
God.
don't know, anything decent.
Happy with just 130K now because of that? Jeez.
Yeah.
That sounds weak, bro.
Sentiment kills, eh?
Yeah.
Sentiment kills. Like
Yeah.
the effect of these pullbacks. I mean, look, Tigal, you're wearing the pullback survivor t-shirt, man.
Yeah, look at this guy.
Look at it. You're a pullback survivor. You should.
His wounds are not healed yet.
But you're exactly. Yeah.
I lost the leg.
But
Nah, as long as you're not leveraged, you didn't lose anything. And I'm pretty sure this time around you're not leveraged. He did lose a lot for transparency. Tigal lost a lot in the last cycle because he got a little bit over excited, which a lot of people did.
We've all been there.
Tigal is your retail trader to a T, by the way. So like whenever we talk about what retail does, that's basically Tigal.
I'm too lazy to be like the rest of the people in the retail
Which
now.
is good. That is good. Do less, right?
The amount of times I haven't bought, like I have some stable coins still sitting, like waiting to pull. And every time there's a market dip, I'm like, oh, like I'm going to put it to use. And I just can't bring myself to pull out my ledger and set stuff up and do it. But it's been working so far. So
the ledger is actually a key trader or investor.
100%. 100% it is.
The extra fiction makes it too difficult.
And you can't trade from your phone, right? You can't open up your MetaMask wallet and make a trade while you're like out at the bar. You got to wait till you get home, hook it up. So like that's actually a great tool. Yeah.
Let me ask this: has anybody increased or decreased their Bitcoin allocation this year?
Increased.
I've increased.
Increased. Me too. I've increased.
Yeah.
Tiga, you've increased. Chevy, are you still 100% Solana?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Jeez, you've been on a wild ride in 2025. How's your wounds?
I turned all my trading notifications off, and I've been fine ever since. But before that, it was like white knuckling it every day.
Jeez. Now you did that in 2024 early on. Like, what price point did you go all in on Sol?
I got in at like 108. So like at one point this year, I was at a loss.
Yeah. Right. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
So that was terrifying, but what?
Let's use that to lead into to Solana predictions. It's a great lead in.
My Solana price prediction is 1,000 by the end of this cycle. I still feel pretty good about it, to be honest. It only comes if we get the like blow off top kind of craziness 2021. We haven't seen that. It's kind of what everyone's waiting for. It's your like crazy altcoin season. There was a time beginning this year where I thought as Trump came in, like we're probably not going to get that because of the like basically them trying to balance the deficit. Now though, it's changed. That's not happening. Doge is kind of done. They're going to print a bunch of money. We're going to try to grow our way out of this deficit. That leads me to believe we're going to have another sort of like blow off top type of movement in crypto. And so that makes me think I'm going to be right on the 250K Bitcoin. So I'm actually more bullish over the last 6 months than less, opposite of Tigal. I originally thought 175 was it for Bitcoin. I think we're going to get that 200, 250 because of this. I think we're going to print a shit ton of money. Again, this is going to take a little while. It won't be end of this year, but like whenever that is. And so I think Solana might be able to get to 1,000 from that. If it does, though, to be clear, it's not going to sit around 1,000 or stay at 1,000. It's going to touch it, and then like we're going to puke. And I don't know if it's going to be exactly that number, but so I think I still feel good about it.
Chevy?
Way more conservative for some reason. I'm at 800 for the cycle top this year.
That's not way more.
That's not way more conservative. Yeah, that's.
You're still like 5-6xing from here.
Yeah. Okay, but which of the two of us is holding 100% Sol? You would assume I'd have a more bullish prediction. Yeah, I'm still confident in $800 Sol at the end of this cycle. This year, don't know, maybe it's recency bias, just seeing like, we catch a bit of wind. We go from, I think it got as low as like 90, all the way back up to like 180 within the span of a month. And now we're back at 140. So like this kind of ripsaw of, I guess it's just being in altcoins, because I've classically just stuck to like Bitcoin and ETH. So this is a change, and this is like a new learning experience. I'm going to say, yeah, I would love if it hit 800 this year, but I'm not holding my breath. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you have any sell targets?
No,
Yeah,
I'm still doing time-based.
800.
Yeah.
No, because I get in my own way in that case, being like, well, I could just hold out a little bit more. So to stop, just like idiot-proof the whole process, for those listening, I edit all of the pro reports, so I usually just steal all of their knowledge and updates. And so for me last year, I was like, it should just be a cycle-based thing. Do it based on time. Don't do it based on price targets, because that's why you hold too long and then, get hurt. So this time it's all about timing. It was going to start in March, April, depending on where we were. Like if we did have that early blow off top, that was like, all right, I'm going to just start selling X amount for the next, if it was really quick, let's say 1 month to 2 months. If it was kind of slow, say like give it 6 months. Now I'm like looking to probably implement that early 2026.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And
it also help with taxes.
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah,
you get push it to next year, push the gain to next year. You get your timing from the weekly pro team from their.
They track it on. There's a cycle tracker that just tells it, like, it's literally like if you've ever gone to like a shopping mall and you try to figure out where you are in the mall, there's like a big circle being like, you are
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, again, for people that are kind of like, this is too much. Like there's 20 different charts. It's all boiled down into one and represented with like a map. It's beautiful. I use it more than they know.
Love that. Chevy, how does it feel so today your net worth is up 5%. Okay. So that's nice because Solana's up 5%. So everything you own is up 5%. Yeah, we're having a morning here today. But so starting in January all the way down to April, sorry, your net worth went down 68% in a matter of like a month and a half.
Well, you want this Duke on the show?
I didn't notice. I forgot you only hold Sol, and I never saw you nervous.
I don't forget. But I think about it all the time.
I mean, okay. Last year we had like these.
Last year you were laughing at all of us. We were at the retreat last year, and you were the one laughing at us. So,
guys, 10% gains in a day.
Yeah.
Okay. Compartmentalizing, just just burying it.
Good for you.
Tiga?
I had Sol at 750 for the cycle, which I still feel good about, but I feel like I'm thinking like, I don't know, 400 to 450 by end of year. And that's through like, I've done a lot of historical analysis and a lot of drawing lines on charts and talked to a lot of like big names in the space. And that's where I'm pulling that number from. So feeling real good about it.
That's sarcasm for everybody who missed that. Yeah. Okay, my Sol was 1,000, and I still feel good about it for the cycle. I agree with what we're all saying is that it's very difficult to predict the end of the year. It's much easier to predict the cycle. And it's also difficult to predict when the cycle ends. But I think let's talk a little bit about what we think for cycle end, but I think we all agree it goes into 2026. I think I talked a lot about the Sol ETF approval being a big driver of Sol price. I think we're going to get the ETF still this year. I tried to get James Safard to tell me his updated prediction on when it's going to come, but I couldn't get a hold of him this morning. But I think we'll get it. We'll get it soon, I would assume. And I think we're still going to get a wave of other ETFs. I don't know that. I think it's pretty clear that ETF flows are all going to Bitcoin, and Ethereum hasn't really got a bid on the ETF, a little bit, but not massively. And so I think I think Solana could get to 1,000, but I don't know that the ETF is the thing that makes the big inflow difference there. I think Solana gets to 1,000 because mainly I'm really hyped on tokenized stocks, and the fact that Kraken is doing that on Solana is very interesting to me. And so you can see, I think that narrative could really catch up this year, especially if we get market structure bill, which I think we're going to get market structure bill August, September. So I could see that being a big tailwind leading into the second half of the year. And feel good about Sol at 1,000. I am definitely not going to sell all my Sol at 1,000 though. I don't even know if I'll sell all my Sol. Will I sell all my Sol? I'll probably sell most of it at the end of the cycle, but I will definitely sell earlier than 1,000. I don't even think I would try to hit 1,000. I would be selling similar timing to you, sort of Chevy, watching timing, but I'll also likely be selling Sol 600. I think is when I'll start to sell it. That's the price that I feel good about us definitely getting to this cycle. ETH. Let's talk about ETH. Kai, lead us off.
My prediction was 10,000 plus. Obviously not.
Wait. What do you mean 10,000 plus? Is that 10,000 or is that 11,000? That's a cheat prediction.
Fine, then it's 10,000. I don't know. I'm just looking at what it says here, and it says 10,000 with a plus beside it, so it goes above 10K. So if you want to say 10K, is it? Look, I don't know. I think there's some like obviously we're only at 2,500 today, so it's got a long ways to go. I've become less bullish on ETH. Still very bullish on Ethereum. Less bullish on ETH. That doesn't mean I think it goes down or anything like that. Still think it goes up. Does it hit 10K this cycle? I don't know. I'm a lot more excited about apps now, but mainly that's because I understand how to value these things. At least I think I do. And so there's just more insight into those, whereas I think no one knows how to value ETH or Sol. And so it's becoming very difficult to see where those go. So these price predictions are very kind of made up. But I think there's a lot of good catalysts coming for the rest of the year on ETH that I'm really excited about. So I think ETH will catch a bid. I think there's a lot of people have completely given up on it. I have not done that, but it'll take a special bull market for it to get to 10K. I think because at 2,500, it's valued at, I don't know, close to $300 billion asset. So 10K and you're going to like $1 trillion. That seems, I'm not sure. Again, I think if we get if rates come lower, we get some money printing, like we get that kind of crazy bull market, I think it can happen. But it's the one I'm least confident about, I think, between the three.
Chevy?
I got mine set at 11K. This in my, like, Carl's like, I was bullish on it. Now I'm not as bullish. I was bearish on it. Now I'm not as bearish. And I remember thinking like I shouldn't undercut. I was going to do 9K for my prediction. I was like, maybe I'm being a dick. Maybe I'm letting like my Twitter feed kind of demand that I give it a lower number just because its branding has not been great up until the start of like May. There was just this, it just felt bogged down. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't moving forward. It's very slow. Like as far as development, it felt like that from an L1 perspective. And ever since their Pectra upgrade, I don't know what happened, but they just flipped a switch as far as like perception. They're speaking to people in layman's terms. It got exciting all of a sudden. And to be honest, I don't even know what has massively changed. Like I'm looking at it being like, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's just the changes, forward-looking promises. And Tico and I were talking about this morning. They announced something like we're going to 10x performance in the next, what was it? Year?
12 months.
That's, usually that would have been like a 4-year plan. So there's like momentum behind it. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it this cycle hit 11K. This year, I would be surprised.
The catalyst for me, I think, because I agree, the new team, the new management they put in for Ethereum, I think is really changing what they're doing and changing the game there, which is exciting. And then the catalyst, because just having like a little bit better of a blockchain isn't really going to make a huge difference for price. But I think the catalyst for me is Joe Lubin doing this SBET stock where he just bought that new company and they're going to buy a bunch of ETH and run the MicroStrategy playbook. I'm super bullish on that. Joe Lubin's a stud. And the fact that if it was just a random dead company that's buying it, I'm not very excited. But the fact that you got Joe Lubin and a bunch of funds involved in this tells me they're going to go all in on this. And so I think that is going to be a huge price driver for ETH. And then I think ETH staking comes, which I think is one of my predictions, but it comes for ETFs. this year as well. And I think that'll be another big catalyst. So I think there's some big things outside of just the tech improvements and the marketing side of it that I think can drive actual flows. So that's what excites me and makes me think that ETH can have a pretty strong comeback.
Tigo?
I had it at 12K end of cycle. If you look at my portfolio, then it kind of says that I still believe this will happen. But I don't know if I'm as confident as I used to be. But end of year, I don't think it will hit that. I think that it can definitely, I don't know, 5K, something above that by the end of the year. I just think that it's in a point where it's like everybody's written it off. Like it's had so much fear pumped into it, which usually, as long as something's not actually dead, like it's not a zombie coin, it usually rebounds pretty amazingly after narrative like that. So I don't know. I don't really have anything as in depth as Chevy and Kyle do, but that's, I just trade on hope really. So.
I mean, a lot of investors do, so you're not the only one. My ETH was 12K for the end of the year. I have very, very similar thoughts to Kyle. I'm not sure it can become $1 trillion asset in this cycle, so it makes me want to lower my price prediction. But at the same time, I really like the trade right now. Like I think it outperforms Bitcoin for the rest of the cycle. That's for sure. Solana versus ETH. I think Sol outperforms ETH for the rest of the cycle just because I can't wrap my head around why Sol trades 3x lower than ETH, like on market cap. It just doesn't really add up to me. I do feel really good about Ethereum for all the reasons that you guys mentioned. New leadership, the foundation is really targeting, speaking to the community about what they're building, not just from like an academic perspective. There's the Petra upgrade, all the technical upgrades that they're planning. We're clearly in the early stages of a ETH renaissance and an ETH movement on the sentiment side. And I can really feel that on the podcast. Like definitely last year was all Solana. All anybody wanted to talk about was Solana. And this year, again, people want to talk about ETH. And then obviously things like Joe Lubin's Sharp Link is big too. But Solana has that as well. We just had Soul Strategies on the show a few weeks ago, and they've got, there's people running that playbook with Soul as well. So I feel, I don't know. I want to downgrade I think I'm going to downgrade my ETH prediction to 9K. I'm going to go down to 9K for the cycle. But at the same time, if you look at my portfolio, I still hold a ton of ETH, feel very good about it. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I didn't give my Bitcoin prediction. I realized. I don't know how I skipped that. I think I skipped it. My Bitcoin was 240 for the year or for the cycle. And I still feel really, really good about that. I think it's Bitcoin's world right now. I mean, it's wild how much Bitcoin has been the biggest narrative this year. And I don't think anybody called that heading into this year. And I think there's, stablecoins.
Which is definitely picking up as the biggest narrative in crypto right now. But
yeah, big time. And I think Bitcoin's still got a lot of room to go because of the Bitcoin corporate treasury playbook that is absolutely exploding right now. We have 200 public companies that hold Bitcoin. Like I think we could have 1,000 by the end of the year easily. And that's not just like 1,000 MicroStrategies. That includes like public companies just like hold Bitcoin. They don't necessarily hold it as a means of revenue and a means to fund their business. Yeah. It's more of just a asset that they hold on their balance sheet. But I think that narrative is going to pick up a lot of steam. I think a lot of people we're just going to see a lot of headlines. Oh, this company's buying, this company's buying, this company's buying. And that's going to fuel a lot more. It's going to fuel a lot of inflows on Bitcoin. It's just going to fuel more speculation as well and more hype. So continue to feel very good about Bitcoin. I mean, just the thing that has become so obvious to me is if you're in this space and the way to guarantee that you win is to just hold Bitcoin and to do nothing. But that's going to take decades to make the gains that everybody wants, right? Everybody wants the like generational wealth gains. If you're going to do it the Bitcoin way, I think you're pretty much guaranteeing it, but you got to be super patient. It's going to take 5, 10, 15, 20 years for you to go for you to 10, 20x from here, right? A lot of people don't have that patience, which is why I'm still heavily allocated to Sol and ETH and some others as well that are more high risk, and hoping that I can do that sooner. Yeah, here I am trying to go after it sooner. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Bitcoin. I'm gonna use your stablecoin comment to lead into another prediction I had. Was I predicted that stablecoin market cap would hit 500 billion this cycle. We're at 250 right now. We've grown 50. We were at about 200 at the start of the year. So we've grown 50. So like based upon that, you would say, okay, Jay, you're halfway through the year and you've only grown 50 and you got to grow 250 this year. You're not on track. But I still
It's accelerating though.
Yeah,
it's accelerating.
It's accelerating big time. Genius Act is coming. Legislation's coming. I feel Circle just IPO'd and great IPO. I still feel really good about that stable. It's a big stablecoin prediction. Like 500B would be a big number, but I still
think it
can
could
see
happen.
hitting it.
There's also like Apple and Uber talking about integrating stablecoins. Like I feel like
Yeah,
if
Facebook.
it slowly trickles its way into people's everyday life and it makes like the switch, like when we switch from cash to credit card and then you start switching from credit card to not even knowing that you're using this stuff, like the market cap would have to explode to be able to handle usage like that. So
yeah, it can happen. I think, especially if we get the stablecoin bill like this month, then I can see it happening, right? Because that gives it 6 months post stablecoin bill. I can see it. I think it's going to accelerate extremely fast.
Selling your Bitcoin should be a last resort when you need cash. That's why there's Ledn, the trusted platform for Bitcoin-backed loans. You can unlock cash in as little as 18 hours with no monthly interest payments and no prepayment penalties. They've issued over 9 billion in loans and never lost a single Satoshi of client funds, even during the chaos of 2022. If you're a long-term hodler, this is the move. Get liquidity without selling at milkroad.com/Ledn, spelled Ledn. Meanwhile is the world's first licensed and regulated life insurance company built for the Bitcoin economy. They do everything in BTC. You pay in BTC, they pay claims to your family in BTC. You take out policy loans entirely in BTC when you need liquidity. Protect your family from life's uncertainty and a broken financial system. Build intergenerational Bitcoin wealth while the cost of living skyrockets in dollar terms. Plus, get all the tax and legal benefits of life insurance now in Bitcoin. Visit milkroad.com/meanwhile to join the waitlist and get early access to the world's first Bitcoin life insurance. We had a total market cap prediction currently sitting at 3.2 trillion total market cap. Kai, you, me, and Martin all predicted 10 trillion by end of the cycle. How do you feel about that prediction?
Yeah, so I have an interesting one on this. So I predicted 10 trillion. I still feel good about that for the cycle. A lot of what we just talked about, like if Sol reaches 1,000, ETH 10, Bitcoin 200, whatever, you get there, right? Pretty easily. What's interesting about what I put for this prediction was, I think, so in December, I said Bitcoin dominance falls to 40%, which it's only done the complete opposite. But I also put in brackets here, unless a strategic Bitcoin reserve happens, which did happen, then Bitcoin dominance goes above highs of this cycle, 60% plus, which has happened. So I ended up, again, I don't know if you want to call that right or not, but technically it's right. I actually think Bitcoin dominance continues to go up and reaches 70% before we go back down. So you had said ETH outperforms, Jay. I don't think that happens yet. We're currently at 65%. I think we still got a little bit to go here on Bitcoin before things change. So yeah.
You somehow like hedged both. Hedged a
got-
couple of your predictions with the strategic. Well, because in both directions. In both directions.
But that's because the game completely changed if the strategic reserve happens, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, if this thing does happen, everything changes. Which I remember saying on the podcast, right? Like your predictions are out the window now, and that happened. Which so yeah.
And I think that, like, to me, what's interesting about that is, like, it did happen, but it happened right before tariffs, and it's not, it didn't happen in a way that I feel like people remember or notice it, right? And so I think that it is a massive tailwind that is not really, it's the spring coil that you said at the beginning, Kai, right? Like I think we're in a place where we are just a coil that is ready to spring once macro sorts itself out. And where macro is headed, as you said before, is printing. I mean, we already have printing happening in Japan. We already have printing happening in China. We already have printing happening in Europe. We likely will have money printing happening in the US with the big, beautiful bill. We'll see where that goes. And like big time money printing too. So all roads likely lead to dollar deflation and asset boom. And Bitcoin and all crypto is set up very well to do well on that backdrop.
Yeah, I agree. Still think Bitcoin dominance goes up for a bit more first, though.
It's a good call. Okay, big. Oh, let me ask you this: other than those three, Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol, any other assets, tokens that you really like for this year, this cycle?
Any other tokens that we really like this cycle? Like that were
or
part
it could
of
be a
predictions?
stock. Any other? No, not. I'm going outside of your predictions now. I just am curious, because Kai, you brought up you really like apps. So what's the app, or it could be a stock. I'm just curious if you guys have a trade that you really like for the rest of this cycle that you feel really good about it, and maybe it's one of those three.
I have two. The first is Sky. I mean, we've talked about it so much on the show and in Pro. We got a lot of people in that at a good point earlier this year from that were Pro members. But Sky is just the one app that's been around for forever. It's making over $100 million a year profit, which is pretty wild. And then it's using that to buy back its own token. And now just recently, it's also using that to give dividends to those who stake its token. So it's got all the Ponzi-nomics of all the scam tokens out there, but it's all backed by real revenues, which we've never seen that in crypto. It's the first time we've ever seen that. And it's still only a less than $2 billion asset. And so I just think, and then also it's a stablecoin, which we just talked about. If stablecoin goes from 250 to 500, obviously that's not all going to happen in Sky and USDS, but some percent will, right? Yield bearing stablecoins will have some percent of growth from that. And so if it's, I think it's like 5% of the stablecoin market right now is yield bearing stablecoin, something like that. So let's say that continues. Sky currently has 7 billion, I think, in supply. By the end of this year, I could see it going 10, 15, maybe 20 as a bunch of catalysts come. So if that happens, it's not making 100 million anymore. It's making 200 million in profit. And in that world, it's buying back so much of its token and it's giving so much dividends back. Like right now it's 17%. If you stake your Sky, it's 17% you earn. That's one of the best in this entire industry for actually holding also a good asset. You're not holding this asset that's like being inflated away. I just think the mechanics of what they're doing over there, as long as they can continue to grow and get traction, they just have the best setup I've seen. So that excites me a lot. Yeah, I'll leave it at just that one. The rest, you got to go pro. We've got a bunch. One has done, the one I was going to say has done incredible. It's more than doubled in the last 30 days since we put out a call to buy it. Maybe it's like 45 days. And I continue to be very bullish on it, but I'm not going to say it here. You got to go pro.
You would. Chevy Tigao, any that you really like?
I'm on the Sky tip mostly. Like I'm not about to reallocate to it, but it's very much like when I do sell into stables, it will be going into the Sky ecosystem. I just have this like perspective of, I think in 2022, Luna was offering 20% returns, and that was like a house of cards built on sand in an earthquake prone area. But to flash forward and you're getting like close to those same returns on like such a solid foundation of a business that's got a proven track record and real revenues. It's like, it seems kind of boring when you talk, like people want like that flashy, 10x, 100x gain. 20% is a little bit boring, but the longer you start thinking about, okay, like how do I manage my money? How do I do this long term? Looking for those yields from reputable sources gets harder and harder. You have a job sifting through scams and figuring out what's legit. To have one that's like just ready to go when I want to sell, I'm stoked about that.
Tigao, you got anything from the sentiment hopium mindset?
Yeah, I think, well, for sure, my biggest allocation like in my whole portfolio is coin. So I would say that. Just like, I think the main thing I like about it is I feel like it kind of removes a bit of the risk of betting on individual blockchains, and you just kind of get the whole crypto market as a whole. Also, I can have it in a tax-free trading account up in Canada, so it's nice. But other than that, like huge on Sky. I actually did most of my allocation, which is like a big part of my actual crypto portfolio now, when Kyle called it in the pro community back when it was like $900 a token. So it's doing quite well for me, and like I still feel like it's got so much room to grow, basically just because of what Kyle said, that my only knowledge of that, he had to tell me to convert my maker to Sky the other day or I'd start getting penalized on it. So it shows you how much I actually know about it versus I just take what he says in the pro.
You know what? Can you teach everybody that? Because this is there's a lot of listeners who hold Maker probably.
Yeah,
Maker
and to the person in the
give this
newsletter
knowledge.
Telegram chat, I'm sorry I told you that you don't have to do anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we've only touched pro members, so we haven't done it on the show yet. But so starting in September, there'll be fees to hold Maker. So they're basically forcing everyone to move over into Sky. And so you do have to swap your tokens from Maker to Sky. You can do that on Milk Road Swap, as Jay talked about at the beginning of this episode. And then once you have it in Sky, you're good. You don't pay any fees. If you have to do this by September. Another interesting catalyst or fact is that once September hits, when there's those fees, that'll give us a clue as to how much Maker is actually lost or dormant. So in wallets that people don't have access to anymore, and they're just going to burn that. And so that'll lower the value or the market cap of Sky by, my guess is 20%, maybe even more. Because remember, this token's been around for like 10 years now almost. And so it'll have a lot that is lost. And so the market cap, we think, like the tradable amount of tokens that we think exists, which would be kind of around 2 billion right now, probably closer to like 1.5, so much lower. So that's also going to be a pretty big realization. We'll understand that come September. So anyway, switch it into Sky and then go stake it. At this point, you might as well stake. There's no reason not to, unless you plan to like trade it tomorrow or something. But you can just go to app.sky.money and you can stake it pretty easily there. Right now, you can get 17% on that Sky. So
17%. That is very nice. Well, holding the speculative.
Yeah, token that I think is going to go up a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
And even better, the rewards come in stablecoins, right? So what's really good about this is the rewards don't come in Sky, which forces people to just consistently sell, put sell pressure on the token. They give the rewards in USDS, which grows the supply of their stablecoin, right?
Which also
and puts it in more hands of people. You'd have to stake it to get the yield. It doesn't come with the yield bearing one. So just the token mechanics they've done is just, it's incredible.
Okay, here's what I got. You guys are gonna like this. I got an L1. I think the alternative L1 trade is a good trade for the rest of the cycle. I don't know whether it's Hyperliquid or SUI though. I think it's one of those two. I can't figure out which one it is. So I got a little allocation to both. I'm not going all in on either of those, but I think that either SUI or Hyperliquid is going to be the next Solana, basically the next L1. And I could see one of those ripping from, they're both at like around 10 bill right now. 10 to 12 bill market cap. I could see those ripping to 100 bill by the end of the cycle. Maybe like cycle top 100 bill, more likely to try to get in now, sell like 70, 80 bill, 7, 10x, 7 to 8x here from here. I feel pretty good about. I still really like the AI narrative a lot for this cycle. I just don't know. I can't figure out where to allocate into that narrative. Like, is it BitTensor? Is it Virtuals? Virtual's been ripping so much. I don't really think that's a good trade right now. So I like the narrative. I just don't know what the trade is. And then the last thing.
The trade is copper. That's not a token. Talking about the commodity copper.
Oh,
that's the trade if you want AI.
Because they need so much copper for compute.
To build compute and to build the like energy resources, like solar and all that kind of stuff, you need a lot of copper. I was just talking about this with Thomas, who writes Milk Road Macro, and copper looks like it's about to rip. It also does really well on the latter stages of a business cycle, and so yeah, copper's the trade. But you don't get like
growing up, eh?
You don't get the like 7, 10x returns like you would in some sort of like altcoin, but you'll get decent returns.
Copper. Okay, did not expect that to come up in this show. Before we wrap here, I'll give you guys each one last chance to speak. Any final predictions to share, narratives, where you think that we're going for the rest of the cycle, things you're paying close attention to?
Yeah, I got a few predictions that I'm excited about. The first one is at least 3 crypto companies go public. So we just had Circle, which I put in brackets, Circle, Kraken, and then I said, and maybe Ledger, question mark. Circle is a yes, Kraken is a yes. So they both came out after this prediction. So kind of got 2 of 3.
And we had
Kraken
eToro.
doesn't go public.
eToro.
Yeah, not really. Like, I don't know if I count that as like a crypto. I'm talking crypto native companies, like crypto companies. That's like Robinhood. You know what I mean? So I'm waiting for one more crypto company specifically, but I think it'll come. I don't know if it'll be Ledger, but I just said that as a question mark. So I think that'll happen. The other one I put was ETFs introduce staking and provide a yield to ETF holders. And remember, when we put these predictions, we didn't have Gary Gensler out as SEC. So this seems obvious now. It was not obvious back in December. And so I think that'll come at some point this year, which actually pushing a new narrative behind ETH. One I have here, Base surpasses all L1 chains to become the number 1 chain in daily active addresses, daily transactions, and DEX trading volumes. I'm not right on that yet because Solana is still number 1. But when I wrote this, Base was like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 in a lot of these. It is now number 2 for all of these. So it is ahead of every L1 except for Solana today. So I don't know if it'll end up beating Solana by the end of the year, but potentially. There's obviously a lot of distribution that Coinbase still has, and a lot they can still do. So I feel pretty good about that one. But yeah, those are my big ones.
Chevy Tigo, any to share from you guys? We're well over time here, so feel free to pass on it if you want. Adrian always tells me to end the show at 45 minutes, and I never do.
I have one victory I like to take, which is so far like the only one that's pretty much solidly confirmed is a third US-based company, non-crypto company, adds Bitcoin to their balance sheet outside of Strategy and Tesla.
Right.
I think we've got
nailed that.
Counts.
Yeah.
Again, seemed kind of like dodgy with Gary at the SEC. Right. Yeah. There you go.
I don't have any predictions, to be honest, but Jay, I do have something that might help you because you said you didn't know if you should get into Hyperliquid because it might be too late. But by the time this goes live, Milk Road Degen will have launched, and there's an article on there that you can go check out of all the beta plays to Hyperliquid. So there you go, buddy.
There you go.
Next $1 billion meme coin is going to be on Hyperliquid according to LG from Milk Road Degen. That's the alpha. Although it's not alpha anymore because that will come out before.
Which, if that happens, makes me feel good about Hyperliquid being the L1 trade for the rest of the cycle.
I mean, Hyperliquid's making I think it's something like 300 or 500 million a year right now, annualized, and it uses most of that to buy back tokens. So it's also pretty wild. I just don't understand perps enough to to bet on it.
Yeah, this is definitely for me, this is not an understanding of perps bet. This is a seeing that there is going to be an L1.
The narrative, the momentum.
The narrative and the momentum is really strong. Okay, let's wrap there. Thanks, fellas. Great show. I wish we had Martin here. We didn't have Martin. Martin, I hope you're doing well. Your wife's sick today. We miss you, brother. We'll figure out a way. Chevy, we'll get Martin's predictions in a newsletter or something like that, so we can share them with everybody. Because I know the audience is going to want the NOP, the Nerd on Payroll, to give his predictions, and I know he would have not liked my Hyperliquid prediction, so I wish he was here to tell me no on that one. But that's it. Thanks so much for joining us today, folks. I got to remind you guys, as always, none of today's show is investment advice. I'm not your financial advisor, and none of these guys are your financial advisors. You should only invest what you're prepared to lose. Investing is risky and difficult. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But if you want to be a great investor, you should make sure you subscribe to the Milk Road newsletter. Why? Because it's going to give you 5 minutes every day to stay on top of your crypto investments, and also now your macro investments and your degen investments and many more, as we are launching more newsletters currently right now. So subscribe, hit the link in the show notes. Thanks for listening in, folks. Have a wicked awesome day. We'll see you again tomorrow. Hey all, the Milk Road team is going to be at Permissionless in New York at the end of the month, and we would love to meet you there. We've got a meetup happening on June 23rd. Hit the link in the show notes to register. It's free, plus free drinks. Woohoo! Would love to hang with you and get a chance to meet others in the community, as well If you still need a ticket to Permissionless, you can get $100 off your ticket if you hit the link in the show notes. Hope to see you there. As always, if you liked today's episode, please hit subscribe and make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, we're going to also leave a link for Milk Road Pro. You get access to our portfolio where you can see exactly what we are buying. This is your #1 resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this show is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Investing in crypto or any asset is risky, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thanks so much for listening in, my friends. Have a wicked awesome day.